You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray.
I thought that having a premature baby just meant, giving birth a few weeks earlier and giving birth to a baby who was slightly smaller than your average baby. I had no clue about, micro preemies, about
NICUs.
extreme preterm birth, about the challenges that would arise when you did have premature babies.
You'll always know, dear, how much I love you.
No one's going to deny life to babies who are born. They're going to do no harm. They're going to resuscitate the babies. But then I realized that no, there is this really strict policy in place, and I have to get to 22 or my babies are going to die. Good job.
Hey, you're just a happy
Wow.
boy. You're just a happy boy.
Kevin was ready to have kids like right away. As soon as we were married, he was already talking about having kids. We finally got pregnant. This was summer of 2021. Then about 2 months in, we went for an ultrasound and there was no heartbeat. But they also couldn't find the location of the baby, and so that's when the doctor informed me that it was an ectopic pregnancy, meaning the baby was growing in an unknown location outside the womb. And they advised me that if we carried on, it would be life-threatening actually, and that it would possibly end in a miscarriage, but it would also
Put you at risk.
put me at risk and put future pregnancies at risk, and that ended up in a miscarriage. I think it was 3 months later that we ended up being pregnant again.
It was her 20-week ultrasound.
No, it was
12 week, I think. 12-week ultrasound.
I remember just lying down on the bed, and then the ultrasound technician was next to me, and she was really quiet, which made me very nervous. Then I kind of broke the silence and I said, "So is there a heartbeat?"
There's a.
And then she looks at me and she puts just 2 fingers up and she says, "There are 2 heartbeats."
You got that too, thank you.
I was crying my eyes out. I was in shock because I didn't expect to have 1 baby, let alone 2 babies. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was experiencing some pain. I didn't know I didn't know what kind of pain that was. I didn't even know it was related to being pregnant, but my body was doing new things. So I just thought that this is just something new that my body is doing. So I went back to sleep, and then I wake up again, and it was about 7 in the morning. And this time the pain had increased. It was more frequent as well, and I could feel that my clothes were covered in blood. And then Kevin drove me. It was about a half an hour drive to the hospital. I was experiencing a lot of pain now, and then I started realizing that these are contraction pains, and I honestly believe that when I reached the hospital, I would just be put on bed rest. That's all I thought it was.
But then the doctor walks in, I think, and says he's going to do a quick exam. So it's a few seconds. He does his thing. He pulled away. He looked at the nurse and he said, I think this, and then he looked at us. I think this pregnancy is a loss. The babies may come out any minute now or during the day, and there's absolutely nothing we can do. You've lost this pregnancy. I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, so we were shocked. That's when we were told that the best the hospital could offer was comfort care. And when we asked what comfort care was, they said that, well, when the babies are born, we'll try to make them as comfortable as possible. We'll wrap them up. We're going to put them on your chest. You can hold them for as long as possible, but we will not intervene. You can just hold them until they pass away naturally.
Month 13.
Yeah. I'm just saying. So 72 hours would be when?
Wait, yeah. Let's finish and then
we're 13 hours right now.
13 hours.
Oh, okay. So March 8th would be the. But we can.
Yeah, but we
wean.
were
Yeah,
never
we can.
intubated, so we could do
22 weeks and 0 days is what we have all mutually agreed, that this is what we will resuscitate babies beyond this. If parents have understanding and parents are willing for us to go for this for their baby, then we will resuscitate. Below 22 and 0 at this stage, we do not have the technological capability as well as understanding of what their outcomes are to go for their resuscitation. And this is in order to maintain the consistency, because the worst thing you want is that which baby gets a resuscitation depending upon who is on. And that probably would create so much of inequity.
I was relieved when I arrived at Sinai because I thought at first like, okay, wow, everyone's going to be on board now with saving the babies and it's only going to be positive conversations from now on. But I was wrong because the first few conversations I had were again, pretty grim. That's when, I began to realize how critical it was that I get to the 22-week mark.
The complications that we see at 22 and 0 will tell us that at 21 and 5 or 21 and 6 will be higher than what happens at 22 and 0, because we know every day matters and every week matters in this situation.
We were resigned to kind of saying like, okay, yes, we'll go with that policy, even though in my mind, I always thought that if the babies are born before midnight, I'm going to beg and do everything it takes for someone to do something for the babies. I was watching the clock really closely all day long, just not moving a single inch, at times not even breathing, because I didn't want to do anything that would result in the babies being born before midnight. And I then felt like my water broke. So the nurse came in and I woke Kevin up as well. And I remember apologizing to Kevin, saying, I'm really sorry that I couldn't hold on till midnight. And Kevin was just comforting me, saying, don't worry, it's okay, we'll deal.
So what happens, happens.
What happens, happens. It's not your fault, because I felt like it was my fault.
I've had this conversation with several women in the NICU and in follow-up, when they how did this happen to me? Why couldn't I have stayed pregnant? And it's really hard on women.
So the OB team came in and they examined me as well. And to my surprise, they said that no, your membranes are intact, meaning your water hasn't broken. And just in sheer exhaustion at that point, I just went back to sleep. I woke up again 45 minutes later. First thing I do is look at the clock, and it's now 15 minutes past midnight. Same drill, the nurse calls the OB team in. They look at me and they said, okay, this is it. It's time.
I remember when Adiah came out, she was tiny. What if the equipment doesn't fit? I had that go through my mind when I saw her.
To give the breathing support, we have to put a tube down their throat. The size of the tube, external diameter is 2 millimeters.
That size 2 tube, which is the smallest tube that we have, just barely fit. Adrial came out. He also needed to be intubated, but was able to be intubated right away. Did not need any troubleshooting related to the size.
I recall walking into the resus ward, and then they said I could take pictures, videos, and so I recall walking to Adiah's isolate first. She was all bagged up and felt a mix of emotions, like on one hand, wow, this is my daughter. But on the other hand, she's so tiny, she's probably going through so much pain, and like her skin's not formed, it's translucent. I could see through her skin and her organs.
It's transparent, it's very papery, it's very sensitive to the medical adhesives that we use. So like the leads that we put on the baby's chest can have a clear sensitivity to that, almost like a burn.
Kevin showed me the videos and the photos, and all my fear just melted. I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel in any sense that these weren't normal babies. I mean, my first thought was like, these are my babies and they're absolutely perfect. It was kind of in like a post-delivery, bliss, where it was just everything was fine, everything was beautiful. No one was giving us any bad news yet. And then it was the second morning where the real challenges started.
What I explained to them is that the blood vessel that supplies the brain is 10 times smaller than your hair. So any fluctuation either causes shut off so that the part of the brain does not get the blood, or they pop off and causing bleeding.
Adiah had a grade 3 brain bleed, and then Adrial had a grade 2.
And then again, so they talked to us about possible,
outcomes
associated with those. But just the idea that my precious little babies have something in them that may be causing them pain. It was just unbearable to me, and I remember just crying that entire second day. I was just crying.
In the first week, there were several conversations with the parents asking that, are you sure you want to do this? Should we redirect? Meaning palliative care. So pulling the tube out and let him go. But I had a frank conversation. I said that, look, in the last 7 days, you probably heard 7 times this. But I just want to make sure that we all are on the same page. And then we know that, okay, this is what you want. And from now onwards, nobody is going to come and ask you about redirection. Then they just very clearly told that redirection is not in their book or vocabulary. They just want to try everything that is possible.
We're not in denial about what could happen. We just want to focus on action and intervention and what could be done and be hopeful. But being hopeful doesn't mean that we are idealistic or that we're in denial about possible challenges.
I mean, we can keep pushing and give kind of a try, but we know that it causes a lot of pain and suffering. And we don't want it to go through, but since we are continuing, you need to understand that these things do have long-lasting effect on the developing brain.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
As long as we have done our part to give them a very informed decision, right, that they understand the picture very well, and this is what they choose, we'll respect that decision, and then we'll just let go of our own personal feeling and do our very best.
Come a little closer in the middle, okay? Perfect, okay?
I was given the opportunity to hold Adiah many weeks into the NICU journey.
She's well supported, okay? She's good.
Adiah was still intubated at that point, and it's really important for the tube not to move at all, because if she's extubated, which she did end up, getting self-extubated a few times, which almost cost her life, and so it's really important to keep that in place. And if you're getting the baby out of the incubator and placing the baby on your mom, the chances that a lot of things could go wrong.
She has her eyes open.
Hi.
Yeah. Mommy is here, same as Daddy.
Just an amazing feeling, just being able to give her that physical comfort that I hadn't ever given her.
Careful.
Yeah, you can talk to him. Just
Hi,
say,
baby.
Mommy's here.
This is Mom.
Mommy.
Oh, you moved.
They were here every day, had a wonderful routine round the clock of doing stuff with the babies, pumping, singing to them, celebrating their life, bringing positive energy in.
Hi, dear. Yeah, 780. You gained 40 grams. You're a big girl.
I tell families, it's like we can't quantify it. We cannot quantify what your presence and your skin to skin and your coming in and your reading to your baby and your breast milk, we can't quantify on your specific baby how much this had an impact, but I promise you this does.
We love you so much.
Love you.
Happy 2 months.
Happy 2 months, baby.
We had to split time, so one of us would be inside and one of us would be at Sickets. So it was really difficult, just kind of not feeling like our family unit was kind of now, divided. We were not together anymore.
It was also the long middle also because it was around that phase where you saw people who had entered the NICU journey around the same time as you were getting discharged.
It also felt like lots of new diagnoses were coming up, so it wasn't like the really huge things anymore, like the chronic lung disease and the neck and the brain bleed. But we had lots of now smaller issues presenting themselves, like kidney issues or low blood count. So it just felt like every other day there was a new diagnosis, which was also tiring because we were at the point where we were just ready to start thinking about the home stretch. Yeah.
Look, I'm wearing a special t-shirt.
It says Adiah and Adrial.
Adiah and Adrial. And your hands are holding my hand. Dad.
It wasn't until months later that they started to think about the future and thinking, oh my gosh, Sarah, is it okay to go shopping now? Is it okay to buy stuff for them? We've stopped
ourselves from doing that because we didn't want to get our hopes up. But it seems like, we're going to be taking them home.
All of the nurses on duty,
Doctors
the
as
respiratory therapists, the doctors, they came in and they lined up. They played the graduation song for the babies, and it was so nice. And so just having both babies in hand was just an unbelievable moment.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Many of our babies need oxygen, home oxygen, or some kind of feeding support. And that was a little surprise that they did not need anything.
Yeah, you're home.
Just a quick. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Adiah and Adrial. Happy birthday to you.
You feel like, why am I doing this? What are we trying to achieve? Have I done anything good? What is this going to come down to in 10 years or in 5 years? Would some families be unhappy? Would our decision or would our care has affect somebody's life for the rest of their life?
Many people have come up to us and said that, wow, we admire you, you guys are warriors, babies are warriors. But, through it all, we were never alone. We felt like we had an army of friends and family who were surrounding us and protecting us and praying for us and fighting alongside us.
All right, everybody, the camera's right here. Smile.
There's of course a lot that we can't see internally, but in what's presented, in terms of responding to sounds and imitating sounds and being aware of surroundings, that shows their cognitive level, they're meeting their milestones for their corrected age. They're a little bit behind on their gross motor development. It's just a natural result of being in the NICU, but our physiotherapist is always really surprised by the progress that they make. It's not something that
To worry about.
It's just something to provide, additional attention and support.
Hi.
Yeah, mommy, I'm
Don't expect that every 22-weeker twin that will come to Mount Sinai will have the similar story.
Do you want to hold your spoon?
We are in Adrial and Adiah's life for 6 months. After 6 months, the parents will have to deal with them for next 60 years, 70 years. And we just want to make sure that at any stage they do not feel that we created burden.
Okay, you want to try putting me to sleep?
All right, my friend. You have a nice little meal. Playtime. How's the best time of the day? In terms of the future, just excited for their personalities to come out and for them to grow and be healthy kids and to support their development along every step.
I want them to know. I don't want to protect them from everything that happened. I want them to know everything that happened so that they realize how strong they are and so that they, find a way as they grow up to give back.